We left Lizard Island about 6:45 this morning. It's now 9:15. So it's 3.5 hours. No, 2.5 hours. We're doing pretty well. We've been cracking between 7 to 9 knots before a 25 knot sou'easter. Seas are a little steep. They're around about a metre. It's got us a little bit of roll here, but you know, we're having a cracking sail. We had really three choices. We could either go into Coquette Island, which was about 30 miles from Lizard, or we could go into Bewick Island, which was recommended as a slightly better anchorage in these conditions, and that's about 40 nautical miles from Lizard. Or we could continue all the way to Cape Melville at about 65 nautical miles, or potentially let me look at the Flinders group of islands, around about 80 nautical miles. So at this stage I think we're going to skip past Howick for sure, and Bewick most probably, and I think we're going to put in for Cape Melville. There's an outside chance that we might make the Flinders Island before dark, which would be awesome. That'd be an incredible run, 80 miles today. There is some stronger winds coming next week in the 30 knot range, so it'd be nice to get all the way as far north as we can and get as many miles away under our belt as we can, because once those 30 knot winds set in, they're going to be here for over a week, and I'd rather be sitting at Thursday Island organising the paperwork to clear out rather than just sitting here on one of the islands waiting for the wind to blow over, considering the anchorages here are not that great. So we're just passing Coquette Island. This is part of the behind of this Horton Island and then Howick Island, and we've done that in about 3.5 hours. Not too bad, really. That's low-lying Bewick Island right there. That was our second potential anchorage. Apparently on the lee side of that, it's not too bad. But we're still making well over 7 knots. And I think we can make Stanley Island behind Cape Melville either before dark or pretty damn close to it. So we're going to press on, keep going. As we shifted our course slightly to starboard or further north, that changed the wind from our port side to our starboard side. So we're now on a run or a broad reach on a starboard tack. So we just wore the headsail across, and you can see her there now on the starboard side. Still cracking along. So we're just off Cape Melville now. We've got about an hour till we get to the actual cape itself, but we're really close to that part of the mainland. Just showing on the chart here, we've tucked in behind the reefs, and you can see how close the reefs are to the mainland. Check this out. So now that we're tucked in behind the reef, that swell's mostly gone away, and it's been a much more comfortable ride now. We have slowed down a little, but we've still made excellent time. I'm fairly confident at this point that we're going to make Stanley Island, which was a total run of about 85 nautical miles, and we've done it since 6:45 this morning. I think we'll be there probably in about 11 hours from when we left. Here's a perfect opportunity to have a quick talk about AIS. If you have a look at the plotter there, you can see our vessel here, and further off to the west here you can see a vessel here. I can see his track, see where he's going. I can also select him using the cursor and find out information on him. So I know that he's the Viking R. He's making 8.3 knots, and I've got his vector turned on. So as we go through this narrow channel here, I can see where he's going to go and I can see where we're going to go. So I know that we're well and truly clear. If there was any risk of collision, we'd see a collision box appear that it would tell us at what time and how close we're going to pass to come together. So if you're doing these long passages, AIS is definitely worth having as you come up and down the coast. And there's the light on Pippin islets. Just a tiny little sand key with mangroves on it and a reef between the two little islets. Apparently it's a reasonable anchorage, but it'd be a little bit exposed, and we have to go a little further in the morning anyway, so we might as well keep going to a better one, we're seeing as we've got a bit more daylight coming. But probably not a bad little spot to stop if you were sort of stuck here in the middle of the afternoon and you didn't have time to go anywhere else. Certainly well protected by the reef. And there's the Viking R in the distance there that that we could see on the AIS just as we're coming through this narrow passage. But one thing we've noticed today, especially last 3 days of sailing, I've noticed a bit of a sound coming from the rudder. A bit of a groaning sound, especially when we're coming down a wave. And today it was sort of louder than I've heard it before. Starting to think there might be a problem with the bottom bearing on the rudder. So starting to think about when we get to Thursday Island, we might have to slip the boat just to fix that that rudder bearing. I have to get some advice when we get down there or up there and see what they say about it, but it's quite possible. So that's Stanley Island, that's where we're going tonight. Probably about an hour before we get around the outside, so anchoring right on sunset, I think. Check out the cliffs on Stanley Island. How beautiful is this? And to the left there, that's Flinders Island. A little hard to see, but there's a passage between the two of them. We're not going to go in there, but there is an anchorage inside that passage apparently. But we're going to go all the way to the right-hand edge of Stanley Island there, go around the top, anchor on the other side of this. Should be nice and calm. Right in close, couldn't be more than a couple hundred metres. Check that out. And we're still in 25 metres of water. We're passing between the top end of Stanley Island and Flinders Rock. And passing onto the lee side of Stanley Island now, where it'll be nice and calm. So that's Stokes Bay on Stanley Island in front of us. It's absolutely tabletop flat, which I can tell you we're really looking forward to. It's been a bit of a rolly day, so we're going to have a fantastic anchorage in here tonight. We're going to sail up a little bit closer, then probably motor in because the sun's going down. We've just anchored Stokes Bay, Stanley Island, in the Flinders group, just north of Cape Melville. In about 8 metres of water, just off the beach here. It's just absolutely beautiful. There's nobody else here. We've got it all to ourselves, which is the first time we've had an anchorage to ourselves coming up the coast. So this is kind of a little bit special tonight. Dead calm in here. A little bit of wind coming over the top of the island, but that's to be expected. There's no swell getting in here. It's really calm. This is just a fantastic anchorage. So we're going to spend the night here and then head off early tomorrow morning. I think we've got 55 miles to go to Morris Island, and that's our plan for tomorrow.
Weather situation, North Queensland. A broad high 1021 hectopascal over eastern.
It's been a big day, hasn't it?
It's been an amazing day. Almost 12 hours, 11 hours 45 it was. We set sail at 6:45 this morning.
There you go.
Yeah.